Today, I'm going to talk about my days as a dancer, which goes back all the way back to 1978. In 1978, the whole country was dancing. Discos were everywhere, and everybody had a move. And if you didn't, you probably didn't have a girlfriend because all the girls were at the discos. At least was up until one point. And they opened this club in Dallas called Le Bar. And it was a ladies' club, and they had girls lined up 4 wide for blocks. You go into any nightclub in town, and there wouldn't be a girl in it nowhere. I mean, it was crazy. I always loved girls, so I wanted to be in there. So I called down there. I said, "Hey, can I come down and audition for a job?" And they said, "No, man, we got a line a mile long of people wanting a job here." He said, "That, may come back for amateur night or something like that someday." Anyway, they didn't sound too promising, but I happened to have some stripper girlfriends. I always hang out with girls. I was I guess you'd say a ladies' man, I always hung out with girls. I didn't hang out with guys. I never liked guys all that much. And I had lived with some strippers, and they helped me a lot. They took me down and showed me where to get G-strings. They took me and we got, dressed me the way they think that I'd look the hottest. And then I practiced on them, and they showed me what was hot and what was not. Well, I had prepared just about as much as I could prepare. So I went up to the door, somewhat terrified, and I was going to bullshit my way into this job. I went up to the door, had my clothes over my shoulder, and I looked at the doorman and I said, "I'm a fucking professional, man. I just got in from Las Vegas. I thought I might do some dancing," or something to that effect. And he said, "Really? It's Vegas, huh?" He said, "Well, let's see what you got." And he told me to go in there, and I had 2 dancers in front of me, and they got out on stage before me, and I got to see how they were doing it, which helped a little bit. But of course, I was kind of prepared for it, and I jumped out on stage, man. That was the most horrifying moment of my entire life, is jumping out there in front of a room full of screaming girls. But I did pretty good. I made second in the money that night, and I got the job, but I was the new guy. One of the routines I did was a cowboy. And when I was a cowboy, I tried to go with a different look, and I wanted to go with this look right here. And I see the sheepskin shaft. Well, I couldn't get sheepskin that long, but I did get a pair of shafts that was llama skin. But this was the look I was kind of going for with my cowboy look. Now, I didn't dance to country and western music too much. I liked rock. That was one thing that was unique about the Heath Bar, was the fact that the Heath Bar danced for rock and roll. And this was rock too, and it worked really good. These are the clothes. I had a white satin shirt, like that top shirt right there. Like satin shirt right here. These llama skin shafts. I got llama because I couldn't find sheepskin that long. And those were really cool. Cost me a bunch of money, $500 to have made. I had a hat with a large brim like this, and then on this hat over here, I had that tom horn crown on it. They looked pretty cool. And then I used to get scarves made. Or scarves, you call them, bandanas made, and they were satin too. And because whenever you're on stage, you want to have bling, Another thing was the shafts were made, had long gauchos with leather straps on there, so whenever you spun around, you fly out on you. It always looked good to have things fly around on you, a coat or a cape or something. It just makes you look bigger when you're on stage. I mean, a good kind of bigger. But most all cowboys wore boots like these right here. I mean, not cowboys, but these were the style of boot I wore for that cowboy routine. Now, I had several pairs of boots, And boots were something that a lot of dancers used even when they had G-strings on. You couldn't wear a pair of boots, you couldn't wear a pair of shoes with a G-string, it just looked weird. So a lot of guys wore boots. And I did too, quite a bit, not all the time. Anyway, that's one of our routines. Oh yeah, I was gonna show you a little bit. I do a little thing, I'd start out and I'd go dun, 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 dun. Then I'd turn around and I'd smile real big. And then go up to the front stage. Yeah! Anyway, it's just something I kind of remember about it. And then I used to do the kicks like I was riding a bull. Ah! Ah! Of course, back then I could make it look better because I was younger, more athletic. Anyway. Now I want to talk a little bit about my stage name. My stage name was Heath, like Heath Barkley, Big Valley, Lee Majors, blonde-headed guy, looked a little bit like me, and I thought it would work well because old women love that stuff. And that worked real well for me for a while until once at another club, a DJ introduced me as the Heath Bar. And that worked out real well for me. I started using that. Girls liked it a lot, and it made me have a little skit where I could throw out, little candy bars that girls, Heath bars. So, I went by the Heath Bar. One time a dancer, this guy, Paul Adair, he walks up to me and he says, well, I'm Mr. Adair, but you're the Heath Bar. Right after the DJ had done that. Anyway, it made me feel good, and it worked for me, and that stayed with me through my entire dancing career. Well, back in the 70s, it was really hard to get pictures and videos and things like that, especially in a nightclub like this, because it was dark in the club, and up on stage there was lights, but the lights are changing colors constantly, screwing up the camera if you're using an expensive camera. And your only other option was to use a Polaroid. And Polaroids didn't work very good in there either. So I don't hardly have any videos or pictures of me when I was dancing. I had one more besides this one. But this one here, as you can see, I had kind of a dancer's build. I had strong thighs, strong legs, and I had a broad back because I played hockey. And besides that, I kind of had a Spider-Man build. I was tall, I was 6'1", and man, when I was dancing, I couldn't keep no weight on. I weighed somewhere around 185 pounds when I was dancing, and I weighed 195 when I came out of high school. So yeah, I was pretty lean. I couldn't hardly keep it on. Oh yeah, the G-string right here. Look at that G-string. That isn't a G-string, that's a T-back. That's mainly what dancers did. I keep calling it G-string, but it really isn't. It's called a T-back. And as you see, that one's custom. See, it's got snap-on so that it's easier to take it off, put it on. And also, sometimes you do a little gig, where you wear two G-strings. And you come up there and you play with those two buckles, and then pop! And it pops off, and you got another one underneath it. Ah, big letdown, right?
Like California, you see them wearing their baggies, Warachi sandals too, a bushy blonde hair.
And needless to say, being a blonde-headed guy, I had to do a beach boy routine. Most of the time when I was doing the beach boy routine, I just kind of, acted like I was surfing. Got out there kind of like I did on this board here. And I looked the part, I was blonde-headed and dark complected and had careless hair, my hair always hung straight down, so it was really fitting for me. Anyway, that was one of my routines. So I started working with that club, and it wasn't too long that I worked there, and the management decided that they wanted to set up this traveling show called The Best Le Bear. And we had more dancers than we really needed, and me, I was always mobile. And they asked me if I wanted to do that, and I said, why not? And I traveled around Texas doing one-night shows all over the place. I mean, just about everywhere. And we went to Houston, and we opened up a club in Houston. And that was my first experience at having to teach guys, or trying to teach guys, how to be a dancer for girls. And it's not the same as just being a dancer, you know. There's certain things you do when you're a dancer for girls. So I taught those guys, and we still opened that club, and then we opened another club in San Antonio. And when I was in San Antonio, I heard about a new club that had just opened in Austin that wasn't part of Le Bear. It was called Le Dare. I know, sounds a lot like Le Bear, but it was Le Dare. Okay, so now I went to Austin, and I'm applying for this job, and I was auditioning, and this guy was standing out there in the darkness. I didn't even see him. I got up on stage. The door people, the manager brought me up to the stage, and the dance manager was out there in the crowd. And he gets up, and I get up there and I do my thing, you know. And when I come off stage, he walks up to me, and he was obviously gay, and he was blonde-headed. And he kind of looks me up and down, and he says, blonde, huh? He said, are you straight or are you gay? And I said, well, I'm straight. He says, good. There's enough blonde queens around here. Anyway, I got the job. Well, that guy right there, Paul Adair, was also Mr. Gay Universe at one time. He used to like showing, you know, all the stuff that he, you know, things that he had done. And anyway, you don't become Mr. Gay Universe by just being a guy, you know. They called him Mr. Ledare, and he was a showman. He was a pro. I thought I knew something about dancing, and then when I saw this guy perform, I said, holy crap, that's what a professional looks like? Well, anyway, it inspired me, and I got together some other girls, and I had stripper girlfriends in Austin too. I used to use them when I was a stripper. What I would do is I would go down to the topless bar, and I would go up there in my little three-piece suit, and I'd start that tipping, man. I go in there, I tip every girl in there. I tell them, man, I'm working down at the club, never pay no cover. You come down there, I'll get you in. Well, when they did come down to the club, they tipped me, usually better than I tipped them. And they would come up to the stage, and they would act, you know, they're hot girls, and they're acting all, you know, like, ooh, you know, really playing it up, and it really kind of helped my tips a lot. Well, anyway, I had these girlfriends, and I said, girls, I need to know fantasies, you know, because we used to party together after hours. And I said, I need to know some fantasies, and every fantasy you can think of. And boy, they started rattling them off, and I started taking them down. And I started working on building fantasies for girls. In other words, I would dress up like a prince or the devil, or I would be a beach boy or a cowboy, or, you know, and then you choreograph a routine around the costume. And a lot of times, you know, the routines, you'd be kind of surprised. You know, you're wearing an outfit that makes you look like a prince, right? But you're dancing to some song that's popular at the time. So, and then you try to choreograph that out so it looks good. And I had some that were some of my best. Well, I'd been working there for a while, and now I was always in the top money, either the top guy or the second guy, because not all dancers did that. A lot of dancers, they would just be content with just bumping and grinding, a lot like a female dancer does. Except the only difference is a female dancer puts her rump out like this, and a gal dancer puts her thing out like that. You know, so anyway, that's just the way it is. I'd been working there for a while, and I was getting to be pretty darn pro, and in fact, I was beating out Paul most of the time, and they had some guys come out from LA, and they wanted to open up a ladies club in Los Angeles, and they wanted to see Paul's club, because they knew Paul, because he used to dance a gay circuit out in LA, out in California. They saw my shows, and they asked me if I wanted to come out to LA and help them open ladies clubs. I said, well, sure, 20 years old, you know. And that was my first experience at flying first class and my first experience at going to LA. And I was 20 years old then, maybe 21, and flying to LA. That was a long way from small town Texas where I started from. And anyway, it was kind of exciting, but that's my next segment once I get to LA. So y'all have a nice day. Thank you for watching, liking, subscribe, and I'll try to tell you more about this life of a male stripper. Thank you. See you soon.